We're here to say goodbye to our brothers and sisters, to our fathers and mothers, to our friends.
Jon Snow's biggest regret from Game of Thrones continued in Snow. It's been years since Game of Thrones ended, yet one character's story still feels painfully unfinished: Jon Snow. He was the heart of the series, the man who rose from nothing, died for his beliefs, and then lived to carry the weight of a broken world.
Never be repaid.
But while the Iron Throne was melted to ash and Westeros began to rebuild, Jon didn't get a happy ending. Instead, he got exiled. He went
to keep
north,
them alive
past
in
the
memory,
wall, into the freezing unknown, not as a hero, not as a king, but as a man haunted by everything he lost. And if the upcoming spin-off, Snow,
everyone in this world,
there's one emotion that will define it more than any other: regret. Because Jon Snow's biggest regret from Game of Thrones didn't die in King's Landing, it followed him beyond the wall. And in Snow, it could be the force that drives his next great journey. Let's start with the question that fans have argued about for years: what is Jon Snow's greatest regret? For some, it's killing Daenerys. For others, it's failing to save the Night's Watch brothers who died under his command. Some say it's never claiming his Targaryen birthright. But beneath all those choices lies a deeper wound: Jon's lifelong struggle between love and duty. That's the real tragedy of Jon Snow. Every time he followed his heart, he suffered. Every time he followed his duty, he lost something he loved. It began at the Wall, when he joined the Night's Watch. He wanted to prove himself, to rise above the shadow of being Ned Stark's bastard. But that choice took him away from his family, from Winterfell, and from the people who truly loved him. Then came Ygritte, the wildling woman who shattered his world. She showed him freedom, passion, and life beyond the Wall. But Jon betrayed her people for his vows. His sense of duty destroyed the one person who made him feel alive. And when she died in his arms at Castle Black, whispering, "You know nothing, Jon Snow," it was the moment that shaped everything that came after. Jon learned that no matter what he chose, love or duty, someone always died. And that lesson haunted him until the end of Game of Thrones. So when Snow begins, Jon isn't just a man in exile. He's a man carrying ghosts: Ygritte, Daenerys, the Starks, and the entire weight of the dead he couldn't save. He may look free beyond the Wall, but emotionally, he's trapped. Because Jon's biggest regret isn't one event. It's the realization that every choice he made led to loss. He saved the realm, but at what cost? Let's talk about Daenerys Targaryen, the final, tragic chapter of Jon's story. Jon believed in her. He saw in Daenerys a kindred spirit, a leader fighting for justice, a ruler who wanted to break the wheel. But when her vengeance burned King's Landing to the ground, Jon faced the hardest decision of his life: stop her, or let thousands more die. And so, with tears in his eyes, he did what he always does: he chose duty over love. That moment wasn't just the climax of the series. It was the breaking point of Jon Snow's soul. Because for the first time, his sense of honor destroyed the one person he truly believed in. In Snow, that regret is likely to define his journey. Jon doesn't see himself as a hero. He sees himself as the man who failed both love and destiny. He failed to save Ygritte. He failed to save Daenerys. He failed to unite the realm. And he failed to find peace. So while others in Westeros rebuild kingdoms and write history, Jon lives among ghosts, both literal and emotional. But what does that mean for Snow? Well, the spin-off could explore Jon's inner battle like never before. Beyond the Wall, far from politics and crowns, Jon finally has the space to face himself. And that's terrifying. Because for the first time, there's no war to fight, no enemy to kill, no prophecy to fulfill. Just silence, and guilt. Imagine it. Jon sitting by a frozen fire, the howling wind echoing through the woods. Every face he lost flashing through his mind. Every voice: Ned, Ygritte, Daenerys, Sam, Arya, haunting him. That's where Snow begins. Not with a sword fight. Not with a prophecy. But with reflection. And maybe that's the most dangerous battlefield Jon Snow has ever faced: his own heart. But there's something deeper here. Jon's regret isn't just about the people he's lost. It's about who he could have been. For years, he struggled with identity: a bastard in Winterfell, a brother of the Watch, a Lord Commander, a resurrected man, a hidden Targaryen prince. But in every role, he was serving someone else's vision of who he should be. Never his own. Even when he learned he was Aegon Targaryen, the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, he rejected it. Because power wasn't what he wanted. He just wanted to do what was right. But in Westeros, right is never simple. So what if Snow forces Jon to finally define himself? Who is Jon Snow without the Night's Watch, without the Starks, without Daenerys, without prophecy? Maybe Snow is about finding that answer. Now let's talk about symbolism, because Game of Thrones was built on it. The wall wasn't just a barrier of ice, it was a metaphor. It divided the known world from the unknown, civilization from chaos, life from death. Jon Snow spent his entire life guarding that wall, defending the living from the dead. But now, he lives beyond it. That alone says everything about his arc. Jon's exile is both punishment and liberation. He's been cast out from a world that never understood him. Yet, he's finally where he belongs, in the land of truth, stripped of lies and crowns. But here's the twist. Maybe Jon's biggest regret isn't what he did, but what he didn't do. He never truly lived for himself. Every decision he made was for others, the Night's Watch, the North, the realm. But in Snow, he might finally face the truth that he deserves something more. And that's where Tormund Giantsbane comes in. Tormund's return in Snow won't just be fan service, it'll be essential to Jon's healing. Because Tormund represents everything Jon isn't. He's free, he's wild, he lives without guilt, he laughs, he loves, he moves forward. Tormund could become Jon's mirror, reminding him that life doesn't end when duty does. That there's still joy to be found, even after loss. But will Jon let himself feel that? Or will he cling to the ghosts of his past, too afraid to forgive himself? That's the emotional question that could define Snow. And speaking of ghosts, let's not forget Ghost, Jon's direwolf. At the end of Game of Thrones, their reunion was one of the most powerful moments in the finale. No words were spoken, just a look of love, loyalty, and forgiveness. Ghost symbolizes everything Jon has left: loyalty, instinct, survival. In Snow, their bond could take on even deeper meaning. Ghost might represent Jon's last connection to his Stark identity, the final piece of who he was before everything fell apart. Through Ghost, Jon might rediscover something he lost long ago: belonging. But while Snow will no doubt explore Jon's emotional wounds, it could also bring back something much darker. Remember what Melisandre once said: "The Lord brought you back for a reason." Jon was resurrected by divine power, but we never learned why. The war against the White Walkers ended, yet his purpose never fully made sense. So what if Snow revisits that mystery? What if Jon's resurrection wasn't meant for the long night, but for what comes after? What if something ancient, something older than the White Walkers, is stirring beyond the wall, and Jon's destiny is far from over? That would make his regret even more painful. Because once again, he'd be forced to choose between peace and duty. Between rest and sacrifice. And once again, Jon Snow might have to become what he hates most: a weapon. But maybe